Have you been troubled over the fact that narcissistic people can move on so quickly? They can just discard you as though they've erased all the memories, all the good times, and they're able to move on into another relationship while you're hurting and processing what just happened. If you're not careful, you could almost envy this ability that narcissistic people have to just jump from relationship to relationship and seem to be living an okay life. But I'm here to tell you that it's actually a curse that you're witnessing. That's right, narcissistic people live under this curse that we are about to break down. Let's get into this. My name is Kevin, and this is the Royal Wii. Now, before I continue, I want to let you know I'm here to support you. Down in the description box right below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. Also, the Royal Wii has a private membership available for you where you can get daily support from me and a growing community of people from all over the world. I have a workout program for you, weekly fellowship, and so much more, all in the privacy of a members-only app. So head on down to the description box, check out the Royal Wii private membership, or schedule some one-on-one time. Now, let's get into the narcissist curse that seems like a good time, but really it's not. I'm going to summarize this curse for you, and then we're going to take a deeper dive. The narcissistic person's curse can be broken down into two elements. The first one is emotional laziness, which essentially means that they're unable to connect in a sustainable way emotionally with any person long enough to have a sustainable relationship. Any relationship a narcissistic person has is temporary at best. Even the relationships that seem to be good in a narcissistic person's life is simply because there is no real intimacy. It's a distant relationship or friendship, or they don't know each other at all. How many of you know narcissistic people who seem to have a lot of friends, yet when you really think about it, they hardly know each other? Narcissistic people get along great with people who don't really know them, right? Right, that's part of the curse, stemming from emotional laziness. The second part of the curse is emotional wandering. This essentially means that narcissistic people are cursed to wander from relationship to relationship. They're highly unstable. They're unstable in all of their emotional relationships. So emotional laziness and emotional wandering. Now let's break this down so I can share with you how I discovered this curse that they live under. Now, in order to break it down, I'm going to have to present a passage from the Bible. Now, I'm not sharing with you this biblical portion so that you can change your faith or whatever. I'm just simply sharing something that I believe you're really going to gain some insight from when it comes to understanding this curse of narcissistic people and why it seems they're able to go from relationship to relationship. Eventually, by the end of this, you're going to see that it's not that they get to, it's that they have no choice but to. It's going to change your perspective. Now, in order to do this, I want to share with you the story of Cain and Abel out of the Old Testament of the Bible. It's one of the very first stories, and it happens to also be the first time we see narcissistic abuse, narcissistic rage, and even murder. For those of you who don't know what the story of Cain and Abel is, the story is of two brothers, Cain and Abel, where Cain killed his own brother Abel out of a narcissistic fit of rage. Why did Cain kill his own brother? Well, because Abel made an offering to the Lord that was received, while Cain's offering wasn't received. Now, one of the questions is, why was Abel's offering to the Lord received, and why was Cain's rejected by the Lord? You have to read in between the lines there, and what you're going to discover is that Abel put forth effort within his relationship with the Lord. Abel cared. It said that Abel went through the flocks and picked the fattest portion, the best of the best, because he cared about the relationship with the Lord emotionally and just in all aspects. Abel wanted to serve and give the best into that relationship. When it comes to Cain and his offering to the Lord, well, it says basically that Cain did nothing but grab some stuff and present it to the Lord. Here you go. Typical narcissistic fashion. Cain presented the Lord with minimum effort into the relationship, yet expecting great results, expecting reward, expecting to be received. And oftentimes this is what we see from narcissistic people. Once you're in a relationship with them, they will give you the bare minimum. They will breadcrumb you while expecting rewards from you. Now, on a side note, if there's one thing we can understand and we can get from this story of how the Lord rejected Cain's offering, it's this. You also don't have to receive the bare minimum effort from a narcissistic person. If you're getting the bare minimum from narcissistic family members, from a narcissistic husband or a wife, if you are getting the bare minimum, then you do not have to receive it, and you do not have to give them a reward. Whether or not the reward is your time, your presence, your joy, your laughter, you don't. You can reject them simply because they're giving you the bare minimum. Now, that's on a side note. Now, as the story continues, what transpired is that Cain became insanely envious and angry in typical narcissistic fashion, rather than saying, wow, maybe I need to give more. Maybe I need to care about my relationship with the Lord. Maybe I need to invest more. Instead, Cain said, well, I don't like that. That's not fair. I should be able to get by with minimum effort and be received just as much as this other guy, my brother, who's giving maximum effort, right? So I'm going to deal with this my way. What did he do? What most narcissistic people will do: crush the person, kill the person off. Why should I have to adjust and give more? I'll just get rid of you. I'll get rid of Abel. And so Cain killed his brother Abel out of this. Sick, right? Many of you have dealt with this within narcissistic abusive relationships, so you know exactly what's taking place. Now, let's get into the punishment, because a lot of people will question, why was it that Abel's dead, yet Cain was able to go? He was able to go free. And as the story goes on, Cain was even able to have kids and on and on and on. Well, I would like to add this, that Cain's story really doesn't go very far. There's about not even a whole chapter dedicated to what Cain did and had some kids and then cut off. His story ends there. Cain becomes irrelevant. His descendants become irrelevant throughout the rest of the Bible. We never hear from them again. So there is no legacy left by Cain. And now, this is where we're also going to understand the curse and the punishment, not only for Cain, but from what I believe is for all narcissistic people, all abusive personality types. Now, let's read the punishment for Cain together. We get down to verse 10. This is what it says. The Lord said, "What have you done?" Talking to Cain. "Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse." This is the curse of narcissistic abusive personalities. Here it goes. "You're under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the face of the earth." And we're going to end it right there. Two parts of the curse that we want to address here. Number one, the emotional laziness. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. This is the first part of the curse. Now, we all know that we have to work in order to gain anything, right? If you're lazy and you don't work, you're not going to receive money or anything in this life. What's different about this is that there was no money at this time. It's not about money. It's not about rewards as far as monetary. One way we can look at this is because the Lord in the story was only interested in the relationship. And so one of the things that we can take from this is that what the Lord is saying is, because of your emotional laziness, whatever you try to produce is not going to yield any fruit. Whatever you give in this life is not going to be rewarded. It's not going to be rewarding because of your emotional laziness, because of your half-hearted, lazy effort, because of your minimalistic mindset. I'm going to do the bare minimum, but expect to be received, expect maximum reward. The Lord is saying it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will not have anything worth giving. That's part of the curse. So when you are face to face with a narcissistic person who's giving you the bare minimum, and I'm not talking about the love bombing at the beginning. Sure, they're going to rush in there and promise you the world, most of which is all lies. It's all lies about what they could give you, and on and on and on. But when it comes down to it, once you're enmeshed in the intimate relationship, all you get are breadcrumbs. You get the minimum effort as part of the curse. Now, this challenges a lot of people's perspectives, by the way, because people want to say, well, can a narcissistic person change? Can they develop into somebody who gives more? No. They are cursed to always give just the bare minimum in any relationship. It's part of the curse, and that will not change. The only possibility is that they find somebody in life that's okay with their bare minimum. But that's not you. All right? The second part of the curse here is that you will be a restless wanderer on the earth. Now, as a consequence of giving the bare minimum within any relationship, this now sets the relationship up for a particular time frame. It's temporary at best because nobody can live and survive in a relationship that requires ongoing mutual nurturing. Nobody can survive in a relationship where that's not taking place. So this now forces a narcissistic person to have to leave the relationship. You see, they discard you in the relationship, not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to. They've given nothing into the relationship because of their emotional laziness. So as a consequence, they have to now be emotional wanderers. They're forced out. Even though they act as though they're the one leaving you, and I'm going to talk about this in just a moment, it's literally them feeling like they have no choice but to leave because they are emotional wanderers because of their emotional laziness. Now, I want you to imagine with me a foreigner, stranger, who sneaks on to somebody's vineyards where there's fresh grapes, fresh vines. Now, this stranger sneaks into this vineyard, doesn't work, doesn't plant any seeds, but eats up all the vineyards, eats up all the fruit. Not replacing any seeds, not working to grow anything for the future, just eats it all. Essentially steals it from this vineyard. Well, once everything's been eaten, and once there's nothing left for this stranger who just snuck onto this vineyard and ate it all, well, they have no choice but to be forced out. It's either that or starve. It's that or die, correct? So you see, it's not that they want to leave. If there was more vineyard fruit, if there was more for them to enjoy, they would stay, but they can't because their emotional laziness didn't allow them to plant anything. So there's nothing for them there. So they have to leave. They have to wander. This is what creates their emotional wandering. They have to go into another vineyard. They have to find another vineyard with more fruit where they can steal that and eat all of that without, once again, planting anything because of their emotional laziness. Without planting anything, they will exhaust all the resources there. They'll eat all of that vineyard, and then they'll be driven out and forced out again. This happens over and over and over throughout all of their relationships, especially relationships of intimacy. Now, I'm going to add one extra part to this. The worst part for a narcissistic person, the worst part of the curse, is that you can't simply go from relationship to relationship, stealing and exhausting the resources of this person, exhausting all these people without eventually feeling it creep up. This is why eventually narcissistic personalities become even more angry and more aggressive at their own life decisions, because as they are wandering from relationship to relationship, they start looking over their shoulder. They have to. In fact, the meaner a narcissistic person is when they leave you, the more damaging they are, the more violent, the more hostile, the more devaluing they are towards you, is an indication that they have done this so many times that they're frantically being hostile and aggressive out of fear. Yes, how many of you have wondered that? Why are they treating me like they're afraid of me? Why are they acting like they have to fight me off? It's because when they turn around and look at you after being forced out of this relationship because of a curse, they don't just see you, they see you and every other vineyard that they've stolen from. They see you and all the other people. And unconsciously, subconsciously, this is chasing them. From relationship to relationship, it's a wave, a tidal wave of their wrongdoing in relationships that's coming after them. This is why they're looking at you saying, stay away from me. Don't come near me. You're this, you're that. I'll hurt you. I'll call the police. I'll do this. I'll do that. They're trying to face and trying to outrun this tidal wave of all their wrongdoing. So make no mistake about it. Narcissistic people are not hopping from relationship to relationship, skipping along full of joy. Forget what they're posting on Instagram and Facebook. It's all lies. Sure, they'll say, look at me living my best life. No, they're terrified. And the relationship that they're in right now that they're posting about is just another temporary relationship for them. And eventually they're going to have to run from that too and cut everybody off and discard everybody, running from yet another part of the tidal wave. It's all part of the curse that narcissistic people live under. Now, as for you, by now, you should understand that you don't need to envy the narcissistic person's ability to jump from relationship to relationship. There's nothing to envy about an emotionally lazy person. There's nothing to envy about an emotional wanderer who has to go from relationship to relationship simply because they're too lazy to plant seeds of growth and nurturing. There's nothing to envy about that. Now, yes, your vineyard and your life has been exhausted. You've been stolen from. But you can grow these things back in your life. Not only that, but you can start to build the boundaries, set the parameter, start to decide who gets to come into your vineyard and who doesn't. You get to shut the gate on people who want to come in and just take and eat, but not plant anything in your life. That's the benefit. Narcissistic people are not on that level. This is why it's painful for you to heal, because you are the vineyard that needs to set the boundaries, which is painful for you to start to build. Narcissistic people aren't even on that level. They are the wanderers. They are the ones sneaking and stealing from other people's vineyards. They have nothing to build a boundary around. You do. This is why it hurts. This is why you have to process this. This is why you have to regrow. You have to bring nurture back into your life, and you have to establish those healthy boundaries. Establish yourself as a healthy vineyard, which you can. That's why I'm here to help you do this. Set these boundaries and be cautious. Keep an eye out for the strangers who want to come into your life and just eat, but be emotionally lazy and breadcrumb you, leaving you with nothing, and then wandering because it's the next part of their curse. And by the way, a lot of people might say, Kevin, I know narcissistic people who are living great lives. And yes, they go from relationship to relationship, but sometimes they're outliving their victims. That's possible. But I know a lot of narcissistic personalities out there, one in particular, who their life was shortened because of this curse. It went from relationship to relationship, marriage to marriage to marriage, fourth marriage. And I can tell you, this person, because I knew this person was my dad. By the fourth marriage, he was looking over his shoulder a lot. He became somebody fearful, as though something was chasing him. And unfortunately, he died far too young of a heart attack. So yes, it's possible the victims of narcissistic abuse can die sooner than narcissists, but it's also possible the other way around. But we are not the authors of life and death, nor can we really know when somebody is going to die. We're not here to talk about that. What I am here to share with you, though, is the curse that narcissistic people live under. Again, emotional laziness and emotional wandering. Too lazy to invest in relationships and always unstable in every relationship they go into. They can only go into relationships to eat, but never to plant. As I said before, I'm here to help you. Those of you who are looking for someone to talk to, head on down to the description box right now. Schedule that one-on-one time with me. Don't forget that the Royal Wii also has a private membership available for you where you can get daily support. So head on down to the description box, check out the resources that are available for you. If you're brand new to the Royal Wii, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any future Royal Wii content. Like this video, share it with somebody who you think could benefit from this. And I'll be back with more right here on the Royal Wii.